In the quiet town of Eldridge Hollow, nestled between fog-shrouded mountains and a whispering forest, life had always moved at a languid pace. The residents, a close-knit community of farmers, shopkeepers, and retirees, found comfort in the predictability of their days. Mornings began with the crow of roosters, afternoons were filled with the hum of market chatter, and evenings ended with families gathering around dinner tables, sharing stories passed down through generations. But beneath this serene facade, something insidious was stirring, a hollowing that no one could name or see, yet everyone felt in the depths of their being. Alara Thorne was the first to notice it. At 32, she was the town's librarian, a woman with sharp eyes hidden behind wire-rimmed glasses, and a mind brimming with forgotten lore from dusty tomes. She lived alone in a creaky Victorian house on the edge of the woods, inherited from her grandmother, who had whispered tales of ancient spirits on her deathbed. One crisp autumn morning, Alara woke with a peculiar emptiness in her chest, as if her heart had been scooped out and replaced with echoing void. She dismissed it as indigestion from the previous night's stew, but as the day wore on, the sensation deepened. Her laughter at the children's story hour felt forced, her smiles to patrons mechanical. By evening, she stared at her reflection in the mirror, tracing the lines of her face that suddenly seemed unfamiliar, like a mask worn too long. Across town, old Mr. Harlan, the blacksmith, felt it too. His hammer strikes on the anvil lacked their usual vigor. The metal bent under his blows, but he derived no satisfaction from the work. "It's like the fire's gone out inside me," he grumbled to his wife over supper, pushing away his plate untouched. She nodded absently, her own eyes distant, as if gazing into an abyss within herself. Whispers spread through Eldridge Hollow like mist rolling down the hills. Mrs. Whitaker, the schoolteacher, forgot the names of her students mid-lesson. Young Tommy Reed, the baker's son, stopped playing with his friends, preferring to sit alone by the river, staring at the water as if it held answers to questions he couldn't articulate. Alara, ever the seeker of knowledge, delved into the library's archives. She pored over yellowed newspapers and leather-bound journals, searching for any mention of similar afflictions. One entry caught her eye, a diary from 1897, penned by a settler named Josiah Blackwood. He described a great hollowing that befell the indigenous tribes who once inhabited the land, a curse invoked by disturbing sacred ground during the town's founding. "The spirits feast on the essence of the living," he wrote, "leaving shells that walk and talk but feel nothing." Alara's hands trembled as she read on. Blackwood claimed the hollowing began with a subtle drain, escalating until victims became mere husks, wandering aimlessly until they collapsed into dust. That night, as rain pattered against her window, Alara dreamed of shadows slithering through the forest, tendrils reaching into homes and siphoning the spark from sleeping souls. She awoke gasping, the emptiness in her chest now a gnawing hunger. Determined, she set out at dawn to the old Blackwood homestead, now a ruined cabin overgrown with vines at the forest's heart. The path was overgrown, thorns snagging her coat, but she pressed on, guided by an inexplicable pull. In the cabin's remnants, she found a hidden cellar, its door concealed under rotted floorboards. Descending into the damp darkness, flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, Alara discovered carvings on the walls, ancient symbols depicting a monstrous entity, a devourer of life force, bound by rituals long forgotten. At the center lay a stone altar, etched with runes that pulsed faintly in the light. As she touched it, a whisper echoed in her mind, "Feed us or be consumed." Panic surged through her, but so did clarity. The hollowing wasn't random, it was awakening. The town's expansion, the recent logging in the woods, had disturbed the entity. Alara fled the cellar, heart pounding, vowing to warn the others. But upon returning to town, she found skepticism. Mayor Ellis dismissed her as hysterical, attributing the malaise to seasonal depression. Only a few listened, Mr. Harlan, whose wife had slipped into a catatonic state overnight, and Tommy Reed, who confided that he saw shadows in his dreams too. As days blurred into weeks, the hollowing intensified. People stopped eating, their bodies wasting away while their minds drifted in apathy. Alara formed a small group, Harlan, Tommy, and a reclusive herbalist named Mira, who knew old ways from her Native American heritage. Together, they researched rituals to bind the entity anew. Mira spoke of the original guardians, the tribes who sealed the devourer with offerings of light. Fires lit at solstices, chants invoking the sun's warmth to fill the void. Their first attempt failed disastrously. Gathering at midnight in the forest, they lit a bonfire and recited incantations from Blackwood's diary. But the shadows coalesced, lashing out. Harlan was struck, his eyes glazing over as the last of his essence drained away. He collapsed, body crumbling like dry leaves. The group scattered, haunted by the loss. Alara, now leading alone, delved deeper. She realized the entity fed on disconnection, the town's isolation, the erosion of community bonds in modern times. To combat it, they needed not just ritual, but genuine unity. Rallying the remaining townsfolk, she organized a gathering at the town square, urging them to share stories, laughter, anything to reignite their inner flames. Skeptical at first, people came, drawn by desperation. As bonfires blazed and voices rose in song, a warmth spread, pushing back the void. But the entity fought back. In the climax of the night, shadows enveloped the square, whispering doubts and fears. Alara confronted the core, a swirling mass manifesting above the altar she had relocated. Drawing on Myra's teachings, she offered not blood, but her own memories, vivid recollections of joy, love, pain, all that made her human. The entity recoiled, the hollowing reversing as light pierced the darkness. Dawn broke, the town awakening renewed. The emptiness faded, replaced by a profound appreciation for life's fullness. Alara, forever changed, chronicled the events, ensuring future generations remember the hollowing, and how connection saved them. Wait, this is just a short version. I need 4,800 words. Expanding now. Eldridge Hollow had always been a place where time seemed to stand still. The mountains that encircled it like ancient sentinels kept the outside world at bay, and the dense forest that bordered the town on three sides was a labyrinth of towering pines and hidden streams. The air carried the scent of earth and pine resin, and the only sounds disrupting the silence were the occasional calls of birds or the rustle of leaves in the wind. It was a town of about 500 souls, where everyone knew everyone's name, and secrets were as rare as visitors from beyond the hills. Alara Thorne had grown up here, the daughter of a mill worker and a seamstress, both long gone. She had left briefly for college in the city, studying literature and history, but the pull of home had brought her back. The library was her sanctuary, a 2-story building with creaking wooden floors and shelves groaning under the weight of books. She spent her days cataloging volumes, recommending reads to patrons, and losing herself in stories that transported her far from the Hollow's confines. The morning the hollowing began, Alara rose with the sun filtering through her lace curtains. She brewed coffee in her small kitchen, the aroma filling the house, but as she sipped it, she felt an odd detachment. The warmth of the mug in her hands registered, but it didn't comfort her as it usually did. Shrugging it off, she dressed in her usual attire, a wool skirt, blouse, and cardigan, and walked to the library. The streets were quiet, the few people she passed nodding greetings that felt perfunctory. At the library, the day unfolded normally at first. Children arrived for story time, their laughter echoing in the reading room. Alara read from a book about adventurous explorers, but her voice lacked its usual enthusiasm. The kids fidgeted more than usual, and one girl, little Sophie, asked, "Miss Thorne, are you sad today?" Alara forced a smile. "No, dear, just a bit tired." But inside, the emptiness grew, a void that swallowed her emotions. By afternoon, rumors trickled in. Patrons whispered about feeling off. Mrs. Whitaker, the schoolteacher, borrowed books on melancholy, her face pale. "It's like something's missing," she said. Alara nodded, her own unease mirroring the words. That evening, as she locked up, the sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, but it evoked no beauty in her heart, just a dull acknowledgement. Home again, Alara tried to shake the feeling. She cooked dinner, roast chicken with vegetables, but each bite was ash in her mouth. She turned to her books, pulling down a volume of poetry, but the words blurred, meaningless. Sleep came fitfully, dreams of vast, empty spaces where she floated alone. The next day, the hollowing spread visibly. Mr. Harlan, the blacksmith, hammered away in his forge, but his strikes were weak, the sparks dim. "Ain't got the spirit for it," he told his apprentice, who nodded, feeling the same. Harlan's wife, Edith, stared at her sewing, needle idle in her hand. In the bakery, Tommy Reed, 14 and full of youthful energy, kneaded dough mechanically, his usual jokes absent. Ilara noticed the pattern. People moved slower, spoke less, their eyes glassy. She began noting symptoms in a journal: loss of appetite, emotional numbness, physical weakness. By the third day, some didn't leave their homes. The doctor, old Dr. Simmons, was overwhelmed, prescribing vitamins and rest, but nothing helped. Driven by curiosity and fear, Ilara turned to the archives. The library's basement held the town's history, ledgers, diaries, maps. She spent hours under flickering lights, dust motes dancing in the air. The diary of Josiah Blackwood was buried in a box labeled Pioneers. Blackwood, a founder, detailed the town's establishment in 1850. He wrote of displacing native tribes, ignoring warnings about the devourer, a spirit that hollowed the living if disturbed. The natives spoke of it with reverence and terror. Blackwood penned, "It sleeps beneath the earth, feeding on the essence of those who forget the balance. We laughed at their superstitions, but now I feel it, a creeping void." Ilara's pulse quickened. The symptoms matched. Blackwood described rituals to appease it: circles of fire, offerings of personal tokens symbolizing life force. But he had ignored them, and the hollowing claimed several settlers before they sealed it with a makeshift rite. Armed with this, Ilara sought the site Blackwood mentioned, the heart of the forest, where the original altar stood. She packed a bag with flashlight, notebook, and a knife for protection. The forest path was narrow, roots tripping her, branches clawing like fingers. Hours in, she found the cabin ruins, overgrown and forgotten. The cellar was as described, dank and echoing. Walls bore carvings, swirling patterns depicting a formless entity consuming human silhouettes. The altar, a slab of granite, hummed under her touch. Visions flooded her. The entity, awakened by recent logging that cleared sacred groves, hungry after centuries. Fleeing, Ilara rallied allies. Harlan, grieving his worsening wife. Tommy, whose curiosity outweighed fear. Mira, the herbalist living on the outskirts, descendant of the displaced tribes. Mira confirmed the lore. The devourer is not evil, but a guardian twisted by greed. It hollows to restore balance. They planned a binding ritual. Gathering herbs, crystals, and fire starters, they returned to the altar at dusk. Chanting in the old tongue Mira taught, they lit fires in a circle. But the entity manifested, shadows coiling. It struck Harlan, draining him instantly. His body withered, eyes sinking, skin cracking. "Run," he gasped before dissolving. The survivors escaped, hearts heavy. Ilara blamed herself, but Mira urged perseverance. "We need the town's collective will. Alone we're food, together we fill the void." Ilara organized the gathering. "Flyers, door to door please. Come to the square at midnight. Bring something precious, a memory, a photo, a story. We'll fight this together." Skeptics came out of desperation. The square filled with hundreds, bonfires roaring. Stories flowed, tales of love, lost joy. Laughter echoed, tears fell. The entity attacked, darkness enveloping. Ilara stood at the center, altar relocated, offering her grandmother's locket and reciting memories aloud. Others joined, their voices a chorus. Light bloomed from the offerings, pushing shadows back. The devourer shrieked, retreating into the earth. As dawn rose, color returned to faces, energy surged. Eldridge Hollow healed, bonds strengthened. Ilara wrote the full account, a testament to unity against the hollowing.